Schaub here. Hope all is going well, and I hope your guitar and musical journeys are going famously. And today I have a lesson for you on some simple ways that you could start navigating the fretboard and easy ways to connect some lick ideas. We're talking about not just playing notes, but making good musical sense, right? Taking the notes and doing musically interesting things with them and connecting it in a way that's very melodic and very musical. We're going to be in the key of G minor for this lesson, and I'm going to be using a jam track you heard me play over, and I want to thank Quist. And the chords are pretty simple. It's just basically a 1, 4, 5 pretty much minor key, G minor to the 4 chord, C minor, and the 5 chords D minor. Goes back to G minor. And then on the 5 chord on the turnaround, it's D major. It's so important to know the chords that you're jamming over. Always know that. It's the chords that give you the complete roadmap to the solo and improvisation opportunities. The key is only a part of it. And having musical application to practice these concepts and devices over is critical to put it in a musical context. So jamming and practicing over jam tracks is an essential part of their practice arsenal. And if you want some killer sounding jam tracks, I can help you with that. I'll send you my jam track coach. 6 killer sounding tracks plus 2 ebooks. In the first ebook, I go over the track one at a time. I just don't feed you to the lions and say, here's a track, go. I make some suggestions. We look at the chords. Here are some things to try, some soloing strategies. Here are the notes, here are the chords, right? Try to make it all make sense. So I put all that in the first ebook, and if you don't know the scales, I list them out and diagram them in the second ebook, my scales ebook. So Jam Track 6, 2 ebooks for free. I'll send it to you. Just click on that link below. So for instructional purposes, on the tone, I got the gain cut way down. And also I took the delay off. We're in the key of G minor. So over this track you could use things like G minor pentatonic and G blues scales, right? But also G natural minor, G Aeolian mode. Okay, so let's look at one G natural minor scale off of the A string root, and this is movable, so go up to the G note on the A string, it's at the 10th fret. And we're gonna play this scale shape. Know where the G notes are. Very important. You have one on the G string, 12th fret. And of course you have the root note right there on the 10th fret on the A string. Now let's add to that one arpeggio. We're going to do a minor arpeggio. All an arpeggio is the notes of a chord played separately. And good arpeggio playing just doesn't play the arpeggio up and back, up and back, up and back, go to the next, up and back, up and back, up and back, right? I would never do that, just like you would never play a scale up and back, up and back, up and back, right? That's not music, that's just playing a scale. So we have to, good arpeggio playing mixes the arpeggios in with licks and notes and techniques and bends. You got to work it and get something out of it, right? Take the notes and do things with them. But let's start with the arpeggio, and that's, again, this is movable with your pinky finger on that same fret on the low E string, root, 10th fret. Here's the shape, and that's minor arpeggio, root, flat, 3rd, 5th. So the notes, root, G, flat 3rd, B flat, and we have our 5th, D. It just repeats, G, B flat, D. Now we could start picking notes out and we could start making it musical. So what you want to do next, let's pick out our root note G. And we have a G here. Remember that arpeggio. That arpeggio, we have our root note at the 8th fret on the B string. I'm going to take some scale notes. Now we're starting to build licks. That simple. But what we're doing is we're mixing things up. What I'm doing is I used a slide that time, and I slid from the 10th to the 6th. And I go up to that D note and then back to my G. So you get a lick like this. All right, and if you want to do it with legato, right, you could do that a lot of different ways. You could do a bend. Now the other thing is these half-step bends are so melodic and so important. And you have one on the high E string bending 10 to 11, half step, and one on the B string bending 10 to 11. And that's bending our A to B flat, right? right now we're making music, right? So another thing you could do is you could pick out the half steps again. Like for instance, there's my E flat to E, and I like that. You know, that's a real nice little... Whenever you're playing that arpeggio, you can go up that half step and get that cool note. That's that flat 6 in the scale. And then you can start to pull off. Right? Or, I like that too. I skipped over the G note, pull off, up to the D, and then right to the D on the high E string. That's cool. And I'm back in my scale. And hey, if you could do me a favor, please subscribe to the channel. You know, subscribing to the channel, that really helps us to keep bringing the content. Leave a comment below. Let us know how you like this lesson, what lessons you'd like to see coming up. If you like the video, please click the like button. Give it a thumbs up, share it, and thank you so much for your support. So let's go into the arpeggio first now, and then into the scale. We'll play like... Alright, so there what I did was slide on the high E string, one pick, right down the arpeggio to the D. Then when I got up to that root note, I slid 8 to 10. 8, 10, you can even slide to 11, then go back to 10. I'm in the scale, half step bend. And then I'm on my root note. Slow. Time I pulled off, but I ended on my G right here at the 12th fret. Let's target another note. Let's target our C note, because remember that G minor changes to a C minor. So when you're listening for those chords, see that? It almost sounded like the chord change because I targeted that C, and I did it right as the chord change. And if you listen to hear me play in the intro, you'll hear me do that. I'm listening for those chords, and I'm targeting over the C chord. C minor chord, I'm targeting the C note, and then when it goes up to D, D minor, I target the D, and then back to that G. There's my G, right? You could hear the chord changes kind of inferred in my playing because I'm outlining them, and that makes powerful solo statements. So, there's a cool little lick there where I'm going right down the arpeggio, but when I get to the G string, I go back and I slide it, and practice this, time it, and it sounds so good. You can time that right over that C chord. So in the jam, when it changes from the G minor to the C minor or to the D minor, you want to pick that out and land on something that relates to that chord, and then go into a scale or an arpeggio that relates to that chord. It sounds complex, and it takes a little bit of work to be able to do it and time it, you know, but you could do it, and it's so worth it in the end if you could just drill down on this. Believe me, it'll give you a whole nother set of tools in your toolbox. You heard me in the intro play. What I did was I landed on a D over that D minor chord, right? And then I slid to that C over the C chord. And then I played a little C blues, D blues over the D chord. And then what I did was, because the chord switched back to G minor, is I went back to G natural minor. All right, so an easy way to do that is, okay, so let's say it's going to change to the D minor chord. So if we're playing this arpeggio, you can just land it on a D. Try to land that, time it, so you play that arpeggio right over that D minor chord, you're landing on that D note. All right, and then you play a little D blues. And then that's going to go to the C minor chord, so just go back a whole step. Remember, we're doing this 1-4-5 minor key blues, so whenever you're on the 5 chord, in this case the D minor, the 4 chord is going to be a whole step behind it. So just go a whole step back, and you see already, I'm just playing these notes, but you can kind of hear how that's outlining the chords, right? And then we're right on that C. Start by just doing a little C blues thing. Now the chord changes to that G minor, and I played a lick in G natural minor. So use that, have fun with it, practice it over jam tracks. Don't forget to get my jam track coach. Click on that link in the YouTube description box below, I'll send you 6 killer jam tracks and 2 ebooks, right, for free. Just click on that link below. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. That really helps us to keep bringing the content, as well as then you'll be notified when we have new lessons up, right? And if you like the video, please click the like button. Give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for your support over the years and years and for checking out our lessons. So appreciated. Stay tuned. I got tons more killer lessons and content coming up. Keep up all that hard work on that guitar. And remember, your guitar playing is an evolution. Take care and rock on.